it's a bit impossible to not. Because you can't do business without God, you can't do life without business. Right. So I just want to share a little bit of my testimony. I've got my Bible here because this is the instruction book for life. I was able to succeed in business because of what I learned from this, and I was able to succeed in life because of what I learned from this. So I take this around as my tool in everything that I do. So that's just going to sit there because I need it with me to hold my notes. I'm going to bring it out here because I don't want to be behind here. So just a little bit about my testimony and where I've come from. Where I am today, if anyone knew my testimony in my earlier days, they would never believe. Actually, my parents still don't believe I am where I am today. My parents don't believe half the stuff that I've done, and they don't believe that I've been able to achieve the things that I've achieved, because no one in our family ever has. So I come from a family that's very poor, always lived under state housing rule, and my mum had 3 jobs, and my dad was a garbo. So when the song came out, my old man's dustman, where it is. Yeah, I had the dustman tag, and he used to stick the chewing gum in the end of my toilet on my bedpost so I could chew at the end of the day. But we come from a very poor family. They came from a hands-out mentality. They come out from a poor mentality. We're poor, we've always been poor, we'll always be poor. And you just got to accept life, and that's the way it is. To own a house was a pipe dream in my family where I came from. And so I went through schooling, started my life out being born with an incurable disease, and was told that I'd be dead before I was 4. Well, I wasn't, my parents weren't. I couldn't understand English at that age. But they were told that, and so at 4 I made it to 4, and so they said, well, that's pretty good, but you most probably won't make it to 6. And so my whole life I was in and out of hospital. I was used as a guinea pig because once I hit the age of 11, I was the only one in the world that had ever lived past 11. So then that became times where I was in and out of hospital, they taking pieces out of me, finding out what's going on, and waiting for me to die because then they could figure out how fast someone could get. And so what happened was when I got to 21, I looked at my doctor who had been with me since I was born, so he was pretty old at this age, because he was about 38, 40 when I was born. And I looked at him at 21 and I said, I'm sorry, Doc, you're going to die before me, and you're not going to be able to finish the book and say that you lived at this age because Jesus is coming back and you get raptured, and so you won't even find the body, so they can live forever. And unfortunately, I think you're going to die before me. 3 years later you did, just because of old age. But because of that, I went through school and didn't do school very well. And so I was successful in getting to year 10. That's not an achievement. I got to year 10, and at year 10 I had a meeting with my headmaster. My headmaster said, Trev, you've got 2 things before you write down. This is the end of school, 2 days before the end of school. He was lucky I was even there. Usually I was gone the week before the end of school. And he said, you've got 2 options before you write down. And I'll give them to you as clear as I can. He said, this is his words, you're an idiot, you can't learn, it's useless being in school. If you come back next year, we're taking you back to year 9, or I will graduate you if you say you will leave and not come back. Year 10. So I said, oh, I'll take year 10 certificate, thanks. And he gave me a word of wisdom. He said, here's some wisdom for you, Trev. Go and do something with your hands, because no good doing anything with your head. And so that was what I left school with. So I was inspired with that. And left school, went off to the workplace, and thought, now, what am I going to do for a job? I'm an idiot, I can't learn, I can't spell, I can't read, but apparently I can do something with my hands. So I walked into a nursery which was in walking distance because I couldn't get my driver's license because I couldn't read very well. So I walked to this nursery and I said, do you need a hand? And I said, oh, what can you do? I said, I don't know yet, I just got out of school. So, you know. And he said, I'd like your inspiration here, come and start Monday. So I started my first job in landscaping and working in the nursery. I stayed there for about 5 years. In that period of 5 years, I got born again when I was 18 years of age. That's a story in itself. Born again into the Brethren Church. And that's God. I'll tell you why that's God. It's because I was working with the Seventh-day Adventists. Any Seventh-day Adventists in the room? Any Seventh-day Adventists? Okay. I was working with the Seventh-day Adventists. And in this what they did was that they rang the employer took their tithe out, their tax, and then they got the rest of the money. And she was witnessing to me. And I said to her, well, if it's God's up there and I'm down here, why does he want 10% of my money? So I said, well, God, if you're real, you don't need money. So if you're real, send me to a church that's not going to take 10% of my money. Because you know what? I'm an idiot, I can't learn, and this money is worthwhile to me, and I don't want to give it away to anyone. So I don't buy a car, get my license. And so I just left it at that. This person was a bit weird, mate, as you do when we're non-Christians. And she just kept trying to share the word with me. And then a guy came to me at work, and he said, oh, I'm going to a youth group, lots of Sheilas there. And I said, I'm in. And we went to the youth group, it was a Brethren church. And through experiences, what happened was my guidance officer from my high school was the speaker one year. And the speaker one year, man, I know you. You're like a guy over there from Perth. We're all the way over in Queensland, we know someone from Brisbane from Perth. But I said, yeah, I know. He said, yeah, I was your guidance officer. He said, you're in my office quite often. So he preached the message, and it just spoke to my heart, so I got saved. Gave my heart to the Lord. And then I said to the youth group, I said, well, what church do you belong to? They said, oh, we meet you on Sundays. We're a group that we call Brethren. And I said, okay. I said, do you take 10% of my money? He said, no, we don't. We have a box in the door. When you go through, you can just pay whatever you want. I can deal with that. You get 25 cents. So that was a lot of those days. So God brought me into the church there. And from there, I got saved. I started to read the Word. I started to really seek God out. And I got hold of this truth in the Brethren church. I got hold of this truth. And the truth was this, that if God made me, he can make me better. And then there was a scripture that the pastor read. He said, anything you put your hand to will prosper. And I went, you know what, there's some blessings in this thing that I need to find out about. So I spent about 6-12 months just really finding out what the blessings of God were. You know, I wanted the blessings. And so I really got into that. And as I studied the Word, I found out that I started to get an inspiration within me. And that inspiration was to go from this mentality of poverty to the possibility of having increase. And so then I left that job and I went and done some work with a windscreen company. At the time that I started with them, I was in sales because I walked in the door with this newfound confidence after 2 years of being saved, reading His Word, finding out His blessings, reading Deuteronomy, confessing all those words. I walked into the door and said, I'm a great salesman, do you need a salesman? He said, what makes you so great? I said, I can sell anything. I said, you name it, I can sell it. He said, well, okay, I'll give you a go. And so he gave me a go and set me out with about a week and a half's training on finding out the different aspects of windscreens, what they fit in different vehicles. Sent me out to their customers that they had to try and increase sales. And so I went off to the Bible, went off and started reading and said, Lord, I need to know how to sell. And I heard these words, if you can talk, you can sell. And I thought, yeah, I'll take that. I'll run with that. So everywhere I went to, I said, you need to buy your screens from us because our guys are really good. And that was all I knew. And they said, what makes you better? I said, I'll come every week and make sure that your service is great. That they're looking after you, you've got any complaints, I'll deal with this. And you know, within 6 months, I had sold more windscreens in 6 months to people that didn't need them than they'd ever seen before. I'd walk along the road and I'd see a crack in the windscreen and I'd say, mate, I can change that for you for free. And you go, okay, you know. So I'd walk in with all these insurance claims for free windscreens and change these screens. And they're amazing. So I'd walk down the shop and I'd go, Father, I think right now you'll send me across people who need screens. Because they don't know they need it, but they need screens. I did that for about 4 or 5 years, and then they said to me, look, we want to make you the sales manager and you train the rest of the guys what you do. Imagine training the rest of the guys how to read the Word. I said, I can't do that. Because what I do is, you know, I'm an idiot, but with this manual, I seem smart. So I said, I do everything out of the smarts of the Word. And so if I come against a problem, I can say, Lord, you show me how to do it. Because if you created a car, you created the mentality of people who build a car, you can tell me how it works. And so that's how I worked in the theory of it. So I was sales manager for about 6 weeks, which was great for me. Because they would say, how do you sell so much? How do you walk? I said, I look for opportunity and I take it. That's all you've got to do. But do you think people without the Spirit of God in them can look at opportunity and take it? It's not as easy, so it's very hard for me to tell them how to do that. So the business said, you know what, we want to build a glazing shop. Do you reckon you could run it? And I went, yeah, I can do anything. And so they said, well, you set it all up and find out what we need to do. And so the next 5 years, I was commissioned to set up, and you may have heard the company because they did go Australia-wide, Speedy Glass. And so Speedy Glass was associated with the instant windscreens. I was the founding agent for Novus Windscreens, which repairs cracks and chips in windscreens. We established it in Perth, got it up to a national state, and then we spent national. So the three companies I worked with are Speedy Glass, Instant Windscreens, and Novus Windscreens. And Novus Windscreens was bought out by Instant Windscreens, and Instant Windscreens started Speedy Glass, and I was actually involved in all those. What I didn't realise was the owners of Instant Windscreens were Joe's witnesses. And so when I'm sharing this stuff, and I go, this is what the word says, they were just listening, and they never told me. From there, I went from there to, and then I found out. And what happened was, I'll be honest, I found out they were Jehovah's Witnesses. And I just said to them, look, because of my belief systems, I find it very difficult to work with under that structure. So I've got to hand in my resignation. And they said, what are you going to do? I said, I don't know, but I'm going to find something different. I said, God will lead me to something. I said, okay, we'll see. And so I sat down for about 3 weeks, not doing anything. I said, God, what do you want me to do? And my dad came in and said, what are you doing? You quit your job. You're actually earning more money than I've ever earned in my life. And you quit the job because of a belief. I said, yeah. He said, what are you going to do? He said, you're an idiot. Work with your hands. He said, you can do things with your hands, do something with your hands. And I went, you know what? I can. Anything I put my hand to, I can do. I can build anything. I said, oh, that's good. Thanks, Dad. I said, I'm going to start a maintenance company. Is he going to start a what? I said, I'm going to start a building maintenance company. What do you know about building maintenance? I said, I know the maker. And I know the management. And he goes, oh, yeah, okay, let's see. And so I went to a business entrepreneurial scheme that was with the government. They were going to pay me 10 grand to start my own business if I came up with a good concept. So I came up with a brilliant concept. They gave me 10 grand. I went down and bought a ute, bought a heap of tools. 4 years later, I was running 7 trucks and 5 staff members.